Alright, let's take a look at this fun topic, but necessary topic in American government, how a bill becomes a law. Again, we're going to be using this presentation software that kind of takes you on a roller coaster, but it gives you a sense of sort of scale and getting things done within Congress. So let's take a look. Like I said before, Congress has to operate in two chambers, and so what you'll see here is that both chambers have to work together or wait for the other one to work before they can start work on the bill, because the bill has to pass both houses of Congress before it gets to the president. So if we take a look at Congress, we have to keep that in mind, that this divided legislature, or this bicameral legislature, was put together by the framers for a purpose. If the House of Representatives wanted to do one thing, and the Senate didn't want to do that thing, then there has to be some sort of compromise. And so that's something that we've obviously talked about before in class, and whether or not this is an easy thing for people to do or not. But when we take a look at this, any given year, 5,000 or so bills are presented, but very few of them actually become law. Even few become part of the legislative process that they vote on. Even fewer of them actually become law. And here's why. Because the first step is, anybody can introduce a bill that's in Congress, and that's the first step. It has to be introduced. It has to be done by a member of Congress. A citizen cannot propose a bill. Now, you can propose a bill, write to your legislator, and ask them to propose the bill for you, and they may or they may not. But when the member proposes the bill, it's ceremonially placed in a thing called the hopper. And if you ever watch Legally Blonde 2, she calls it, the shiny mahogany box, the hopper. It's like a bunny. However you want to remember it. The bill is put into there, and then it's sent to the Speaker, because then the Speaker of the House is the one that has to assign it to its committee, so it can begin this process. That's where it gets, from the Speaker, it gets referred to the House committee and or subcommittee, and this is actually where most of the work is done in the House of Representatives. The committee work is so very important to shaping the bill, to debating the bill, to figuring out its costs and benefits, all of those things. And in the committee, members can mark it up, they can amend it, they debate it, they hold testimony in support of it or against it, they bring in people from the public and experts to testify about the bill, so that then it's then taken to the whole committee off of a subcommittee. And this is really a key moment, because most bills die here or they get buried. If they don't make it out of committee, they're effectively dead. You can't get from the committee very easily to the House floor. There are some different things you can do, like a discharge petition, but they're very difficult. So it has to get out of committee. And the bill often does look different because people have marked it up or made amendments. If there's a no vote, sorry, your bill is dead, and oftentimes it simply gets thrown in the trash. But if you're lucky enough and there is a yes vote, then it goes to the House of Representatives, the full body, where they debate it and they vote on passage. This floor debate is often limited to an hour, equally divided between Democrats and Republicans. All of this is public record. There are speeches given by the members for and against it. They will stand, they will pound their fists on the podium in support or against it. But this is very public, and this is really the final step to make your opinion known about the bill, because then the House, like I said, votes on full passage. So then we make our way across the chamber. If the bill has passed the House, let's say, then it gets introduced in the Senate. And the Senate goes through much of the same process. So we'll go back one here. The Senate goes through much of the same process. It has to be done, introduced by a member of the Senate. There are sponsors, there are co-sponsors, there are people that are willing to put their name on it, usher the bill through the whole process in both chambers. And then once it's introduced in the Senate, it gets assigned to a committee. And like I said, the House has the committee where the real work is done, and the Senate does as well. If you're passionate about education policy, for example, and there's a bill about education that's coming your way, then you're going to want to be able to be on that education committee. If your seniority level is enough, then maybe you'll get assigned to the committees that you want based on your expertise. And so it's the same thing in the House. But once it's at the committee level, things begin to really be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. Just like in the House, you have the debate and it's voted on by the full committee. And like I said before, it's the do or die moment. If you get a no vote, well, then again, sorry, Bill, but you make your way to the trash. If you are, again, lucky enough to get a yes vote, guess what? You go to the whole Senate chamber. And the Senate debates and votes on passage. Now, this is a key moment here, because in the Senate, there is something very, very unique that does not exist in the House of Representatives, and that's called the filibuster. And the filibuster is a procedural tactic. In the Senate, you have to get 60 people to agree to end the debate. Now, if you have 51 Democrats and 49 Republicans, and the Republicans want to kill the bill, all they have to do is prevent the bill from being voted on. You got to get 60 people. So if you have 51 Democrats, you got to get 9 Republicans to say, yes, we'll end debate on this bill and we'll vote on whether or not we like it. You don't have to get 9 people to support you, ideally. You do have to get 9 people to say we're going to end debate. Unfortunately, this happens very, very seldom. If you're a Democratic majority like it is in the Senate now, and let's say it's 51-49, those 49 Republicans are going to band together to effectively kill the bill. Now, the filibuster is, again, a way to delay. Senators have read phone books, they've given 24-hour-long speeches, they've sung on the floor of the United States Senate. Anything and everything has happened. They've read cookbook recipes. Anything to delay vote on what's called cloture, which is ending debate. So even though you may not have a majority, you still have a lot of power with the filibuster. This is actually going to be a topic later on this week, whether or not the Senate filibuster is a legitimate thing. So then, let's say the House passes the bill, the Senate passes the bill. Because there are all these amendments added, the House and Senate have to reconcile their bill. And so that bill goes to a House and Senate conference committee, and they write the compromise bill. And then that bill goes back to the two houses for another vote. No need for hearings again, you've already done that. But now you just send that reconciled bill back to the House and back to the Senate for a vote. You want to be on this committee, this conference committee, if you have a passion about that particular bill, because this is where you have a chance to make your voice heard. Some from the House come together, some from the Senate come together, and you want to make sure your voice is heard on this conference committee bill. So let's say that the House votes on passage of the conference committee report, the Senate votes on passage. That's what you ultimately want. But if either one of them says no, because they can't agree on the same bill. Maybe the bills are similar, but they can't agree on the exact same conference bill. If either one of them says no, you guessed it, that bill ultimately ends up in the trash. But if they both say yes, we then move on to the final step, the push home with only one more hurdle to clear. And that hurdle often lies in the White House, because the president needs to sign the bill in order for it to become law. So once it's sent over to the White House, the president has already been watching all of this, and he probably knows exactly what he's going to sign, but the president has the right to examine the bill, and inside the White House, the president really has 3 options. Number 1, you can sign the bill into law. He agrees with it, signs it into law, congratulations, thing is over. Veto the bill. When you veto it, it's dead. Maybe. There is a congressional override that can happen, although it's very difficult to get. But you can sign the law, you can sign the bill into law, you can veto the bill, and then it's dead. You cannot sign it and let it become law without his signature, and that often isn't often used. However, there is another little secret tactic that the Constitution allows, which is known as the Pocket Veto. And the Pocket Veto is a tool that can be used by the president to not have to sign it, but also not have to veto it, and not give Congress a chance to override it. Because if Congress sends him a bill and there's less than 10 days left in the session, the president doesn't have to act on it. And if he doesn't act on it, the bill is dead. He didn't veto it. It's a pocket veto. It says the pocket veto, if they've given him a bill and there's less than 10 days, he can simply ignore it, and it's essentially a veto, and that bill is now dead. So that's the long and the short of it. Jot down any questions that you might have. We'll talk about that in class. But now that you've watched this, maybe watch it again, make a flow chart. There's some notes that are included online on my website. And we'll call this one done.